And so Jesus tells us you need to learn to love not just others, but your enemies as well. But many times, what we find is that the hardest person to love is ourselves. Why? Because we look at ourselves as our enemies. It's very hard for many of us to live at peace with ourselves. Now, the second reason why we find it hard to look at the man in the mirror is because whenever we look at the man in the mirror, we see our past hurts. You and I, we live in an imperfect world, and as long as we live in this world with imperfect people, we are bound to get hurt by others. And so when we look at that person in the mirror, we see these past hurts that we have accumulated. There's a very famous TV show in the United States called Mad Men. The main character is a man by the name of Don Draper. On the outside, he is a very successful ad executive, but his life is a mess. He carries with him many hurt from the past. His mom was a prostitute, and his dad used to beat him when he was young. When his dad passed away in an accident when he was a little boy, it made him feel abandoned as a child. Now, when he grew up, when he became older, he has children of his own, and when he looks at them, he tries to love them, but he can't. He knows that as a dad, he is supposed to love them, but he can only pretend to. So when he looks at his son, when he looks at his daughter, he wonders to himself, maybe this is how my dad felt too when he looked at me. Maybe my dad didn't love me as well. Because of his past hurt, Don Draper could not love and accept himself. And so he can't love those around him either, even though he knows he should be loving them. When we look at that person in the mirror, when we see the hurt that we carry, we find it hard to love ourselves. And when we find it hard to love ourselves, we feel like we can only pretend to do so. And we wonder if that's what the rest of the world is doing as well. Are they also just pretending to love us? And finally, when we look at the men in the mirror, we find that we are missing something. When we see our insecurities and our past hurt, we sense that something is missing in our lives. It is like when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we see us, but at the same time, we don't see us. We feel like we're missing something deep within. So what are we actually missing? What we are actually missing, what we need is the life of God. There is this emptiness inside of us that can only be satisfied by the life of God.